The detailed discussion, sometimes called the body of a formal report, is always organized with headings. The headings are typically content-specific. For example, if you are writing a recommendation report, then the major headings may be the key recommendations. As Figure 9.9c illustrates, the group on report has 3 major sections, followed by the introduction. 2 of these sections are then divided into subsections. Formal reports may conclude with 2 types of supporting information, reference lists and appendices. As Figure 9.9d illustrates, the group on report contains both types of supporting information. References. If the report uses secondary research sources, create a reference section to list those sources. The reference section begins on its own page, immediately after the detailed discussion or body of the report. Use the appropriate documentation method, such as APA, CMS, or MLA. Appendices. Follow the reference list. A report may include additional supporting information in an appendix or multiple appendices. Appendices contain information that would interrupt the flow of the report, but the reader may find it useful. For example, raw data collections, large tables, and graphs. Added to be consistent with what we call them later paragraph, you can also add additional documentation to the index. The report illustrated in Figure 9.9 is formatted in a traditional manuscript style. Although it incorporates some design features such as headings and bullet points, it does not use more elaborate elements such as borders, multiple columns, call-out boxes, or contrast fonts. Manuscript-style reports are very common in conservative fields, such as banking and accounting. You may also see manuscript style used for internal company reports, like the one illustrated in Figure 9.9. Although internal reports may be easy to read with effective headings and paragraphing, they do not have to be as eye-catching as external reports. The audience of internal reports typically needs the content and is motivated to read the information. By contrast, reports that are written and for a more broader external audience tend to use more design features to motivate the audience to read the report. For example, many organizations produce reports called white papers, which serve as a marketing or sales tool. A white paper is a report intended to educate the audience, offer potential customers on a topic that is central to the company's business. Companies publish white papers to build credibility and to establish themselves as experts on the topic. They are highly visual in design. To learn about other features, use your program's help files. Internal documents are typically emailed to recipients. You may distribute the report as a native file, a file in its own origin program, such as Word, or as PDF, portable document format. Many companies publish their annual reports and other documents in both PDF and web format. White papers in Figures 9.10 and 9.11 were both prepared as PDF files and distributed through the company's website. As an alternative, the company could have published the reports as web pages. PDFs are far more common format. They're easier to design than web pages. The documents can be printed and stored out reliably, and audiences can be required to submit contact information before downloading a PDF, allowing the company to track people interested in that information. In contrast to PDFs, web-based reports offer different advantages. Readers can browse through sections of a report without taking time to download it. Web-based reports can be more interactive with links to multimedia content and animated data displays. Reports can be updated frequently without republishing the PDF. Many companies publish their annual reports in both PDF and web format, as illustrated in 9.12. A well-designed web-based report will include its navigation features on the full screen so audiences will know the report's contents and will be able to go to any section with just a few clicks. Increasingly, organizations are using presentation software such as PowerPoint or Prezi to write reports. These reports, called report decks, differ from traditional slide presentations because they are designed to be read as well as presented, and therefore they must be understandable without a presenter. Writing a report using presentation software requires a new way of thinking about how to structure a report and how to design individual slides to be successful, using some of the following guidelines. Organizations that use report decks for three main reasons. First, organization. Then, compared to word processing software, it's able to allow pictures, tables, and graphics. And in many companies, employees know how to use the software better than they know how to use word processing software. When we use Microsoft PowerPoint for just about everything, it's remarkable how often you'll see it, even just for the most basic information we might want to share. It's kind of become the go-to software package for almost everyone feels comfortable using. We use it with all employees and customers, stated one of the most gateway computers, John Spellick. Just like traditional word processors reports, a report written in presentation software needs to be well designed. Use solid backgrounds. Size your box appropriately and your fonts. Leave space for the tracker in the upper left-hand corner of your slides. Include a footer at the bottom of each slide. And check to see how your master slide looks when you print it out in black and white. Like any other report, a good deck will be divided into sections and begin with a preview. Use short sentence styles. Position your headlines to the left of the sentence case. Develop slide content to support the headline. Leave enough blank space so that your audience can focus their vision, and avoid using bullets for all of your text. When possible, use visuals to help develop ideas. Producing a report deck requires creating many slides, with each design a support and a key point. In an analytical report written for a chief learning officer of Ipswich Brands, evaluating options for a new learning management system. As you read through this report, pay attention to the annotations and identify the key features. Finally, notice that this report uses an indirect organization, leading up to a recommendation of potential vendors at the end. The organization allows the author to explain the rationale and persuade readers with benefits before recommending specific vendors. More frequently, reports use a direct organization, placing the recommendations at the beginning of the report. Business reports often rely on numbers and data. Tables and graphs are best tools for communicating these numbers. Have you ever seen a complicated description of information and then looked for a table or graph and thought, now I understand? Well, designing tables and graphs provides a picture of data and allows you to see the relationship and trends more clearly. However, creating effective data graphics and integrating them into your text is not always as easy as it looks. Tables and graphs represent data in many different ways. Tables arrange data in columns and rows, allowing you to read down or across to see different relationships. Graphs illustrate the relationship among variables or sets of data of an image or shape drawn in a relationship in two axes. If a graph is the best way to display your data, make sure you choose the right type of graph, and that would most effectively communicate your message. Although many graph types are available, most businesses rely on the core set of 9 types. On figure 9.16 in your textbook, you can see the variations. You can also create all of these graphs very easily with Word, Excel, or other graphing software. Whether you're designing graphs or tables, follow the core principles of Edward Tufte, one of the most famous information designers in the world. Tufte recommended eliminating all distractions that do not help the audience understand the data. For example, this means eliminating or minimizing all unnecessary grid lines and borders for graphs. It means eliminating anything that exists only for decoration. Follow the best practices. There's a checklist for effective table design. Titling the table, arranging the columns, labeling columns, eliminating heavy grid lines, using shading strategically, removing unnecessary repetition, aligning numbers to the right, aligning text to the left, and do not center content. In a report or other document, text displays need to work together to communicate a full message. On this slide, it represents figure 9.19 in the textbook. This repeats data that can be seen in the graph itself. Version B is better because it generalizes the data and identifies specific patterns. The text also is used in the data to support the argument. Be careful of ethics. We discussed this in class. Graphs can be misleading in many ways. Because ethical representation of data is so important, many organizations have developed guides to data ethics. The guidelines displayed in this section of the textbook are among the most important to follow in business communication. The graphs on the left are potentially misleading. The versions on the right are corrected errors. In 9.6, how should you document your research? Documenting your citing resources is a part of all writing in academia and professional writing. Appropriate documentation serves many functions. It adds your credibility, it strengthens your argument, it helps your audience locate the information that you mention in your report, and it helps demonstrate that you're ethical. Determine what needs to be documented. Paraphrase, summary, specific facts and data, tables, graphs, and photographs or graphics. These are all ways that you need to document or give credit for any information that you've used. In preparing your documentation in a formal report, appropriate acknowledgement of sources happens in 3 ways. You must use all of these acknowledgments in a report: citation, text references, and reference lists or biographies. In our class, APA, MLA, or CMS is appropriate. In summary, no matter what company you work for, you are most likely to write reports. The term report refers to a wide range of documents that provide information or analysis to answer business questions. Reports may be written in many forms, as emails, memos, letters, formal manuscripts, report decks, or web pages. Many reports also include tables, graphs, diagrams, and documentation of research. The guidelines in this chapter help you manage all this material and present it in ways that will be clear to your audience, whether they read the report now or in the future.